Hey everyone, Mr. MC here. Welcome to the 2021 season of the Toyota GR Cup. This first round will be taking place at Laguna Seca with the 2020 Toyota Supra. So let's go ahead and get this started. Brake bounce is at -1 and we are on the sports soft tires. You want to bring yourself towards the right side of the track and brake before the curb on the right ends before you pass the floorboard. Brake hard for a short while, slowly ease off of the brakes as you turn in, and you want to be a little careful on the throttle so the car doesn't start to step out. Use the sausage curves as your apex markers. Bring yourself towards the left and brake just as you pass the tube board before the gravel trap on the left starts. Brake hard for a very short moment, quickly ease off of the brakes and be very careful when getting on the throttle. And for this turn, quick burst of braking before you pass the one board. You want to use a little bit of throttle control to try to maintain a high speed as you go through that turn. Try not to touch the sand. Then for this turn, brake before you pass the 3 board just as this shadow ends. Brake hard for a short moment and slowly transition over from the braking to the throttle. Nice and easy through that turn. And for this turn, you're going to cheese it. So what you're going to do is do a very quick burst of braking before the 2 board, and you're going to go over the sausage curb. For this turn, go over or around the sausage curb. Do not hit it head on, and try not to get too much onto the green stuff. Now for the corkscrew, you want to brake just as you pass the 4 board on the right, before you pass the 3 board obviously. Brake hard for a while, and you want to eventually ease off of the brakes as you turn in. Nail this apex, and once the car is starting to point towards this empty area in the circle, that is where you want to start to accelerate. Do a little bit of throttle control, go up to 4th gear if you haven't yet, and for this left turn, it's all about throttle control. Just try to bring yourself towards the left as you want to brake before the 2 board, just as the curb on the left starts. Quick burst of braking, ease off of the brakes, nice and easy on the throttle, bring yourself towards the right, and finally brake before you reach the 3 board shortly after the curb on the right starts. Brake hard for a short while, try to nail this apex and be nice and careful on the throttle. But that is pretty much it for this lap guide. Let's go ahead and take a look at the strategies. For this qualifying session, you only have 5 minutes to try to get a good qualifying time. So as I type a broken heart symbol for some reason, as you do your qualifying session, you're going to find out that depending on where you are in the pit lane and when you get out, you'll have minimum 2 chances to try to get a good qualifying time. But if you get really lucky, you're in the front of the pit lane and you come out first, you can potentially get 3 chances to try to get a good qualifying time. The moment that you gain control of your car, you want to speed it up a bit, be a little easy on the brakes and your turning input as you want to try not to have too much tire wear. But you still want to go a little bit fast to try to get as many chances to get a qualifying time in. Also, slipstream will be pretty useful, so you want to be within 3/4 of a second behind someone to take advantage of the slipstream. You can see the cars ahead of me trying to take advantage of the slipstream. I will also advise to have the brake bounce at -1 for better braking efficiency, but having it at 0 is just fine as well. If there's one turn that you want to nail down, it's turn 6, which is the turn we just went through. It's the left turn before the corkscrew. You pretty much want to go over the sausage curb, but you have to get it right because you don't want to hit it head on, as it can potentially throw you into the sand if you hit it head on. Also, you pretty much want to be precise on every turn because it's really easy to lose a lot of time here at Laguna Seca. But if there's one turn that you especially want to focus down on, it's going to be that turn 6, before the corkscrew. And before I go on about the slipstream, If you're in a lower level DR lobby, you're going to be better off qualifying by yourself, but as you go up into the A plus DR lobbies, you're going to want to take advantage of the slipstream. But anyways, you have 2 to 3 chances to try to get a good qualifying time. For this race, we are doing 18 laps at Laguna Seca with the 2020 Toyota Supra. And this is a grid start, so have the traction control set to 1 and start on 2nd gear. And you're going to see why in a moment. So I'll be starting on 2nd gear. 2nd and 3rd place are most likely going to be starting on 1st gear. So the lights are about to go off. I'm doing the handbrake trick and off we go. And I'm just going to go ahead and zoom by 2nd place. And I'm going to zoom by 3rd place as well. So before we even hit turn 1, I easily gained 2 positions. So the main reason why you want to start on the 2nd gear for this car is because the 1st gear is really short. So by starting on 2nd gear, you don't have to shift up a gear, and also you don't have to deal with yourself hitting the rev limiter on 1st gear. And as you start the race, be very careful because your tires, especially if you're on the sports hard tires, they're going to be very cold, so they're barely going to provide any sort of grip. It's going to be like if you're driving on ice. So you want to be very careful on your first lap. Don't bin it because of the cold tires. And by the end of the first lap, your tires should be warmed up and they should be giving you a bit more grip. So let's go ahead and pull up the strategy chart. So what are we looking at here? So fuel is a ×2. Fuel is not a problem. The tower is a ×10, which means that tower will be an issue. We are given the sports soft, medium, and hard tires, but the only required tire is the sports hard tires. So because of that, we are going to have to use the sports hard tires for at least 1 lap. And I'm just going to quickly say this: do not use the sports medium tires. They're not going to give you that much benefit. In fact, they're probably going to be even more of a liability than an asset. You're not going to be going as fast as the sports soft tires, and they don't last much longer than the sports soft tires. So you're going to be better off being on the sports soft tires than being on the sports medium tires. So sports medium tires, ignore it, pretend it doesn't exist. So this is pretty much going to be coming down to a 1 stop or a 0 stop. So with the 1 stop, you spend most of the race on the sports soft tires to try to make them last as long as you can. Pit in when you can't take it anymore as the tires wear out, and then you do the rest of the race on the sports hard tires. And for the 0 stop, you spend all 18 laps trying to tire save on the sports hard tires. So I'm going to be pretty straightforward. This race is pretty much going to be a 1 stop, and I am very happy to say that because last year's race was a 0 stop and it was very, very painful. But anyways, that's another story for another day. This race is a 1 stop. I'm very happy to say that. So the thing is that even though the pit loss here at Laguna Seca is 30 seconds, you're going so fast on the sports soft tires that you pretty much nullify that 30-second pit loss. And I will show what I mean of that in a later part in this video, because at one point I do try the 0 stop. And before I go on, I do want to say that I had the brake balance at 0 for the race, and this is just to try to even out the tower a bit more, but -1 is also fine as well. So the thing with the sports soft tires is that you're lapping around 2 to 3 seconds per lap faster than the sports hard tires, and even though your tires are going to obviously wear out a bit faster, you're still lapping faster than the sports hard tires. So for example, in this race I was getting 134s at the start of the race, and then eventually went on to 135s and then 136s. I'm still going faster than a lap on the sports hard tires because on the sports hard tires I was lapping at 1:37s. And this was especially with the zero stop, I started getting my times at 1:37s. So basically, the question you need to ask yourself is how long can you make the sports soft tires last and how much can you take it? Because at some point the tires are going to be wearing out quite a bit to the point where the car is getting really sketchy. So once you feel like you can't take it anymore, that's when you go ahead and pit on over to change on over to the sports hard tires. Also, if you're starting towards the back of the pack, you're going to be better off starting on the sports hard tires, get those out of the way, drive carefully because they're not going to have that much grip. And as you see right now, the pit loss is going to be around 30 seconds. It takes about 20 years for your car to make a simple left turn to go into the pit box. I don't know why that is. But either way, even with the 30-second pit loss, you're still going to be going faster than a zero stop, which is really crazy to say, but I'm really happy to say that. So pretty much your main goal for the sports soft stint is to use them for at minimum 9 laps, and it is possible to use these sports soft tires for as much as 14 laps, but you have to be really good at tire saving to do it, and you have to get ready for the car to be really sketchy. So for example, in this case, I pitted at the end of lap 11. And when you're on your sports hard tires, you do want to be a bit more careful because your tires are going to be cold at the start of the stint. So as you see right now, I'm not too used to the car on sports hard tires, so I am a little all over the place. And this stint, the sports hard stint, is a bit more about survival, so just try to minimize the amount of mistakes that you make. Also, I think I've mentioned this earlier, if you're starting in the middle or the back of the pack, start on the sports hard tires and eventually going over to the sports soft tires. The main thing that you need to know is how long you personally can make your sports soft tires last. So for some people, they may only make them last 9 laps. For others, it may be as much as 14 laps. But at the end of the day, just try to perfect your driving here because making small mistakes can cost you quite a bit of time. And in this race, I ended up getting a 29 minutes and 28 seconds because I had a bit of fun building some sandcastles. So I did lose a bit of time. I could have gone faster, but 29:28 is what I ended up getting. And let's go ahead and take a look at the zero stop. If you're doing the sports hard into the sports soft tires because you did not qualify well, this is still going to be applicable to you. So let's go ahead and take a look at this first stop together. So your tires are going to be very cold, so you're going to have very little grip. You need to be very careful. You need to brake about 5 light years early. And as you see right now, first and second place, they're going to be speeding away because they're on the sports soft tires. And yeah, this first lap on the sports hard tires, they're going to be extremely cold. You have to be 600% careful because it's going to be really easy to make a mistake and end up building sandcastles. But once you're done with your first lap, you can start to push a bit more, but do think about when you want to pit to change on over to the sports soft tires. Once again, you want to have a pretty good idea about how long you personally can make these sports soft tires last. So if you can make these sports soft tires last 14 laps, then if you're starting towards the back and you're starting on the sports hard tires, you pretty much only do 4 laps on the sports hard tires and then do the next 14 on the sports soft tires. But once again, when to pit is going to depend on your own driving style. So this is me doing the no stop, and it's going to be a very miserable experience because I do have to do a lot of tire saving. So I'm going to skip this a bit because I do want to show the lap times I'm getting for the zero stop. And we're lapping about 3 seconds per lap slower than my stint earlier in the video and slower than the one who is in first and second place. So you're going to be going super slow and it's not really going to help because your tires are also wearing out as well. And it's only going to get harder for you because you still have to keep tire saving. Your tires are going to be wearing out and your car is going to be getting sketchier and sketchier. And if anyone approaches you, you're pretty much left defenseless because if you start to battle it out, you're only going to be hurting yourself and your tires are going to take even more of a beating. And let's take a look at this part. So we're in the middle of lap 13 and it's going to be at this point where first place is going to end up pitting, and he's going to go from the sports soft tires to the sports hard tires. So we're about 30 seconds behind him, and we're going to do our best to try to catch up to him and hopefully end up passing him as he's in the pit stop. So if we pass him, then it is possible that we can be able to defend our position from him, but it's going to all come down to how we handle these next couple of turns and when he gets out. So in a moment, we're going to see if we're going to be able to get the overcut on him. And he's going to actually end up popping out of the pit stops right now. So there's a chance that this could be really close. Don't forget that he was 30 seconds ahead of us when he entered the pit stops. And it looks like it's not going to work. So this is how bad the zero stop is. It's not going to work out. He ended up exiting the pit stops around 2 seconds ahead of us. So we couldn't even get the overcut done. And with him being on the hard tires, fresh hard tires, he's just going to go ahead and speed away once again. And we can't really do anything about it, but just keep on tire saving and just suffer in silence because the audio is missing again and because this car is going to be even sketchier towards the end of the race. So is the zero stop doable? Yes, it is doable. But should you do it? No. Save yourself. Don't do the zero stop. Do a one stop. If you're starting in the front half of the pack, start on the sports soft tires, eventually switch on over to the sports hard tires. And if you're starting in the middle or the back of the pack, start on the sports hard tires and switch on over to the sports soft tires. And we ended up finishing about 8 seconds slower than our one stop earlier in the video, and that one had mistakes. So in reality, we probably finished about 10 to 11 seconds slower than the one stop. So zero stop, definitely not worth it. But anyways, let's go on over to places to overtake and the penalty serving zone. The main straight is going to be your best place to get the overtake done, especially with a little help from our friend the Substream. After that, this is going to be more of a single file line, and I mean it is possible to get an overtake done on, say, this turn right here, but if you start to battle it out with someone, you do risk losing a lot of time. This turn, try not to go for the overtake. And the penalty serving zone is hanging out right here, so it is possible to get an overtake right here simply by passing someone who is serving a penalty. And for this turn, the left hand kink before the corkscrew, do not battle it out because it's going to result in an incident. And so there you go, I'm cheesing that turn. The corkscrew, very situational in terms of getting overtake done. You can try to get it done, but it's very risky. You have to nail down the turns while trying to keep the car under control. After that, it's a single file line once again as we go through this right turn and try to wait for the overtake, as the last place to get the overtake done is the very final turn itself. But that is pretty much it for this guide. Once again, this is a one-stop race. Make sure you get the 2020 Supra, not the 2019 Supra. And make sure you use the sports hard tires at some point so you don't get a 1-minute penalty after the race ends. But anyways, that is all from me. I'm going to go ahead and sign off now. So this is Mr. MCA wishing you a good race, and I'll see you in the next video.